Welcome back to another week with the Unstoppable Force podcast. I'm Guy.
And I'm Rob.
And we're going to be reviewing the new Star Wars movie,
Rise of Skywalker. Yep.
I guess we have to start with the spoiler-free version. So what would you say are your, initial feelings?
So, initially in the movie, I had a lot of, eye rolling in the beginning. There was a lot of just, why didn't they put this in before? And why are they even, explaining or talking about this thing? And then, but over time, I kind of just, it felt more and more like Star Wars by the end when, the final, basically, battle, you can say, and just the ending kind of wrapped everything up. It felt really good. It kind of ended, I honestly think it ended the trilogy very, very well.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. And I think, a big, part of, the eye rolling and, the first half, we went in with incredibly low expectations of the movie.
Yeah.
But we also, the very first half is much more rushed. You could even say probably the first 2/3. If you do it first act, second act, third act. The first two acts, there was a lot of moving. There was a lot of transitions. There was a lot of moving to that next plot point.
Even planets really quickly and next set pieces.
It almost kind of felt like it was two movies in one, and the first two acts were one movie, and then the third act then it finally slowed down. It wasn't jumping from place to place to place to place. There wasn't this next plot point. It was actually fleshing it out, and there was these more drawn out moments of drama and intenseness comparatively to the just kind of slingshotting everywhere. First two had two acts.
Yeah, I think definitely with our low expectations, that the previous movies really felt between the first one, Force Awakens and then Last Jedi, it felt like there was a disconnect between the two, especially between directors, writers, and that this felt it was what are they gonna do? They have to wrap it up, but they're gonna tie up all these loose ends, and I think they did a really good job with what they had to bring it back and kind of actually give it a cohesive story with these characters, that we weren't just, it was going back and forth between for example in the previous movies, oh, who's Rey? She's nobody, she's somebody, he's lying, is Kylo lying to her? This whole thing where it's what the hell, you guys on the same page, what the hell, there's no actual struggle, she's just a nobody. Then the end of the movie's oh, anybody could be a Jedi, and you're just what is this really what we're supposed to come away with? It doesn't feel like a character. It just feels like it could be you. Anybody sitting in the theater, that's you. You can be whatever.
I actually think I remember in an interview, somebody had mentioned, it might have been J.J. Abrams, I can't remember, but basically they were saying that the message of the second movie seemed to kind of have missed, and that although it's not bad to have made her parents nobody, it doesn't fit Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Star Wars for there not to be reasons behind things, and there not to be the Force guiding everything in the background. Things happen for a reason in the Star Wars universe, rather than it just being blind luck. You're just born, you're not born. What it just didn't work with, I think, the ideas that Star Wars had, which is why it did so badly. The second movie basically just tanked, especially among Star Wars fans, because they even had Luke kill Kylo, or try to kill Kylo Ren. There was, I guess, a loss of meaning in the movies and direction as to where they were going as well.
Yeah, they definitely built up those characters, Snoke and all them, just for, and it felt like nothing. So, my expectation, especially, if you watch a trailer, and you're, Emperor's coming back, you're they're really grasping at whatever they can get at to just put this together, to grab at nostalgia and fan service out the ass. But, honestly, they did a fantastic job with, how they had the Emperor at all, even in this movie. And on top of that, I think with the previous fan service in oh my gosh, the Force Awakens, when like, oh, there's like your C-3PO and your R2-D2, and they force in some characters or whatever. They actually like had some fan service where you notice certain things that is like very, very common, like references in the Star Wars community. And you see that there, but without them explicitly showing you, like explicitly telling you and like putting it front and center. It's like, oh, like here's this subtle thing, and if you miss it, you can't really tell. And I think they did a fantastic job. They put the story really up front, the characters up front.
Yeah, I definitely think this was very story first. And I felt like, the first thing is that they had to like patch up all of the problems that they created in the first two movies. It almost feels like the first two movies were just a mistake. And that this movie was like the real trilogy squished into one movie. And there was just no time, especially in the first two acts, to like really establish anything, or like, it was immediately next. And
yeah, they're definitely answering more questions in the beginning of this movie to like for the setup for the actual conclusion of the trilogy.
But this one felt like they followed storytelling rules, like in the first two, she like, it's very Mary Sue. It feels like, what are they doing with this? What are they doing with that? They put a lot of stuff on the table, but then they don't actually like do anything with it.
Or they just come up with like rules out of nowhere, like Force rules, perhaps. Whereas this one, there's definitely some more foreshadow in the beginning while they're going through there, but they don't explicitly tell you, and then they don't just come out of nowhere later. It's very
they set things up.
Oh, they definitely set it up way better, even with all the like jumping around, doing all that.
I mean, that's why they had to jump around. Is because they had to set up everything.
Yeah.
They had to like do all this fixing. They had to close up all these holes, and I mean, it was definitely damage control. But then it seemed to find its way towards the end. Like it worked.
Yeah.
It almost felt like the opposite of Game of Thrones, where it's like everything up to the last season was just really like fantastic, and then the last season just ruins the entire show completely. It was like the opposite. Everything up to the last act of the last movie was like kind of didn't really work. But then they took it and somehow just duct taped the hell out of it, and it sort of looked and worked at the very end. Saved it.
Yeah. Like I definitely, felt like Star Wars by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. And it was an epic story, and there were struggles, and there was, she wasn't perfect, and she wasn't able to do everything like in the previous films. Well, with a little asterisk on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Because like there was definitely more. She felt more challenged in this movie, but she's definitely still incredibly overpowered. And I would say on like the smaller things, like the different individual powers that she might use just against like regular enemies or stuff like that, was much more powerful. And just like the strength of her pull, like her force pull or her force push, like those were significantly more powerful than in previous movies. But I guess we should probably wrap up the
I kind of want to give it like where would you put this within the trilogy?
I like this one better than the first two.
Okay, and for perspective, I guess it doesn't really matter at that point if it's like better than the other two. How you feel about the other two?
I mean, I think I liked the second one a little bit better than the first one, because the first one just felt soulless. Okay. It felt like just A New Hope rehashed with a Mary Sue main character. And like there was nothing, there was no growth, there was no movement, no characters changed over the course of that movie. Like, Han Solo died. It's like, oh wow, didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. But like, I would definitely agree with you that this is my favorite of the three.
Yeah. It's almost like I would even say that the second half of this movie is my favorite of the three.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like the first half is not bad, but it's not there to like have you enjoy it. It's there to fix everything for the end.
Yeah, like towards the end, I kept going like, because in the beginning it was like, whatever, like why are they doing this? Like, it's so weird. Like I didn't like it, and then at some point I was like, that makes sense for that character. That makes sense for that character.
Mm-hmm.
This makes sense. I'm glad they made this decision. They went with this. And it was just like things were starting to click so well at the end of the movie. That's why I feel like I enjoyed, like I came out of it enjoying it way better than the previous ones.
I feel like this is a movie too, like you go and you see it a second time, you're going to actually enjoy it more because you'll kind of be able to see everything from that perspective of like understanding the full 3 movies now. And, you know, each time they give you that little hint or that little foreshadowing, or, you know, they display a power or something that may or may not be used later on in the movie. At least they're setting things up. They're playing by like the tried and true storytelling rules.
Yeah, definitely.
But overall, just to kind of give it a rating before we jump into the spoiler version, I'm going to give it like a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay. I gotta say 6.5. Like pretty close. But mainly because it was a low score in the beginning and then it got better, so like it was like tacking on things that got better versus like starting at a 10 and then taking marks off.
Yeah, no, it started out like going into this, I'm expecting like 3, 4 out of 10, but it managed to pull itself out of the mud.
Definitely. So I think we can kind of get into
spoiler version.
So this is your final warning if you haven't seen the movie yet.
Okay, so spoiler version. I feel like I want to take this kind of through the movie from the beginning.
Okay.
So we started off with like a montage, right, with Kylo Ren.
Okay.
Remember the
like in the very beginning when he was going he was like killing a bunch of guys, basically.
Mm-hmm. It was just like him finding the Emperor.
Yeah. Yeah, he got the device, the map to go find the Emperor, and then he found him, and he goes into there and, oh yes, you've been trying to find me, and then he's like, you know, I'll kill you, and he's like, oh no, I wanted you here because you can rule everything, and the Emperor goes, oh, you have to kill the girl first, and then he's like, who is she, and then or whatever, something like that, or like Kylo Ren was trying to figure it out, and the Emperor's like, I know who she is, you underestimate her, and then like cuts away, and in that moment, I almost turned to you honestly and was like, Rey is related to the Emperor.
Oh yeah,
like right then and there I was like, that's gonna be the thing. That's gonna be the thing, but I didn't say it, so it's not on the record. But
I mean, yeah, like kind of going into the whole moving things quickly, like it almost, when you described it, it sounded like it was long. No, this is like 3 minutes.
It's true. I mean, I was just saying like, more dialogue than they actually probably said, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it was very quick. It would just kind of establish the fact that the Emperor was here, that he was, you know, Kylo Ren was going to be acting on what the Emperor wanted, but, you know, and then obviously he decides that he's going to do what he wants, which is kind of his character, which is, I actually like about Kylo Ren. I've enjoyed Kylo Ren up to, like, throughout the whole movies up to this point, too.
Yeah, like in the beginning with the scroll, like text scrolling, in that text, the very last sentence was Kylo Ren is trying to find the Emperor to kill, like get him out of his way, basically.
Right.
And that's his whole motive. Like, even if he works with the Emperor, in the end, he wanted that power to go to take it over anyway.
So that's kind of like the first scene. Then they throw us for this loop and decide, like, oh, there's a spy. Why is there a spy? Well, because you have to find out that the Emperor exists and the rebels need to know about it. That's why there's a spy.
I mean, they had, like, the normal mission that the resistance was going on, so they got the message, got it delivered to Leia, and turns out that's when they find out there's a spy that gave them information. And then the spy information then tells them that the Emperor is alive. And then right in there, because this moves, like, it's just one after the other. Then Rey's like, oh, no, the books. And then she goes in, and Luke was looking for her. And then the trail ends there. And then some dude that they had that was in the area that they have to go find, right?
Yeah, it almost kind of felt like Skyrim in a sense, where it was like, you know, like, oh, I'm going on a mission, like, oh, I gotta go get this thing from this guy, bring it back to them, and then it's like, oh, okay, now that I got this item, oh, this is the meaning behind this item, oh, okay, now I gotta go to this other place, and I gotta do this other thing, oh, I'm gonna meet somebody there, and then they're gonna give me a mission that I gotta do somewhere else, and then bring that back to them, and then bring the thing back to the first person.
With a couple side quests, like go gathering a dagger.
Oh, and also, we skipped over even before the books. we had Rey's training
Oh,
sequence.
right. That happened before the spies came back, right?
Yeah. I thought that was so funny too, because that partly reinforced this idea to me. Like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is like they're restarting
Yeah.
from the beginning." Like they might as well not have had the last two movies.
Yeah, you actually
know.
said to me they should have had this. They should have had this in the first movie.
Yeah, like at least then there is like some reason we could have been like, "Oh, she's fighting with a lightsaber for the first time ever." Lightsabers are known to be one of the most difficult weapons to wield in the entire galaxy. Oh, she's beating a master who's trained for 25 years. Like, at least give us a training montage or something. Give us a reason.
And then she gets all distracted because Kylo's
Right.
Like you can tell. Like I guess they're implying she's thinking of him, or they're connecting, or something like that.
Well, I think it's when he's talking with the Emperor, and then she has this like moment of like, oh my god, some like two powerful people have like connected. Something's going on.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then she starts getting hit by the little floating bots that are shooting at her. She can't even defend that. But yeah, that proves
weird.
how powerful the Emperor is, or whatever, I guess.
I think it felt to me that her force powers were incredibly strong, but then her lightsaber wielding ability was kind of all over the place. Like her force strength was relatively consistent throughout all three movies, actually. Especially when you bring in the fact that she's Palpatine's granddaughter. I can actually accept the fact that just on the force end only, she was significantly stronger than previous. Like Luke previously, or even Anakin previously.
I think
at the stage of training that she was at.
I think that I'm just thinking back now. It felt like her focus was not nearly there either in this movie compared to, like, you can tell there's something going on with her, that her focus, like, she was getting a little more angry, or she wasn't really focused as much. So that struggle was like helps with like even if it wasn't like the Emperor's granddaughter, like that's a struggle where like you can't actually focus on using your powers if something's going on. That's an actual struggle versus like the Mary Sue, just I can do whatever I want. There's nothing interrupting me. I don't have to worry. Like it's all good. This
actually gave her a character arc.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like only movie that had a character arc for Rey was the third movie. The other two, she was the same throughout the entire thing.
Yep.
And this one, like she struggled between whether or not she wanted to train as a Jedi or help out the rebels, and she felt bad, and then as she figured out the whole Emperor situation, like there was anger, frustration, there was all these emotions, and she had to like fight with her desire to like move to the dark side, which is I think a element they kind of touched on in the second one, but they were just too afraid to, I feel like, go the full distance in the second movie, and embrace that like feeling that Rey wanted to go to the dark side. Like this, it gave her an actual reason to be angry and want to kill kill Palpatine.
Yeah, it felt. I wouldn't necessarily say I actually thought that she would have joined the dark side in this movie. I was kind of like, there's more of a chance in this one than the previous ones, where they hinted at it in Last Jedi, but you're like, nah, that's not really gonna happen. Like, you know that, like, who cares? But in this one, it was like, okay, that there's more of a struggle with that actually. And every time I love this in The Last Jedi, and I love it in this movie. Every time like Kylo Ren and Rey get together, and he wants to get her on his side to help, it's just the motivation just feels so right for her to join him. And every single time he says something to tell her, it like just makes so much sense.
You almost want them to join together, because there's something, there was always a gravity between them that I think it was the second movie that really established that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people liked Kylo Ren after the second movie in a different way, because he established himself more as his own character with his own motives and his own struggles.
Well, the thing is, but I thought that I think people like that, but the problem was that was riding on the back of Luke going to kill him. So then everything was like, okay, his motivation is weird now.
He was split. I would say, a lot of people didn't like him, and then a lot of people did.
Yeah. I think you either really like him or really don't, honestly. So then, after we had training montage. We said the spy,
books.
right? The books. So then they have to go to this planet where they had Ochi, this guy Ochi, that was going to look for I forgot what they called it, the
Wayfinder, Sith Wayfinder or something.
Like okay,
dumb name.
Like seriously,
Could have
Pathfinder, like you're telling me where to go, whatever. Like of all things, but
it could have been like a key or like a
literally just a map, or
map.
Like it could just be a map. You read a freaking map and you go, or something whatever. Wayfinder. Okay. So they go there onto the desert planet, and turns out there's like a party going on, and then she has a necklace on, and Kylo Ren's trying to find out, like tries to talk to her, tries to find out where she is, and they have this connection. And this is the first time we see he actually like reaches into like where she is and pulls a necklace.
Force, space, time.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know, like
that was weird. Yeah. I didn't like that at all.
At least initially, I didn't.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like in that moment, I was like, "This is so weird, so dumb. How did they set up these rules?" Cool with how they utilized it in the end, but at that moment, it was like weird. That's how this movie felt. Like if they had those in the previous movies a little bit, it'd been like, okay, they kind of established it, but now it's just here's the first time we're seeing it, and the only time like where this is gonna happen right now, because now freaking that Kylo's gone. Oh, and now fucking Rey's gonna talk to somebody else. There's no other connection. It's within her where she can't like teleport it from one hand to the other. Like fuck that.
That'd be pretty crazy.
But
I guess I mean, I think it comes down to the connection having been so strong that, I mean, like, I guess if you think about it, if they can fight each other and have like a battle with lightsabers, then it's not that far fetched to imagine that they can transfer items.
I don't know. I think
because they're both physically present in two locations at the same time.
I guess I've always felt that felt more like a visual thing for the audience, whereas when they're fighting, it's like you're fighting them and your force presence is there, and like you're projecting that right around that person, like the other person, and then they're back. I mean,
do you remember though in that fight? So when they have the lightsaber battle, well, I guess we'll kind of skip there really quickly.
Yeah.
But when they go onto the ship to save Chewie, and they're she's going for the dagger, and they have that battle. When Kylo cuts this like coffee bean bag or something, the coffee beans spill out in Rey's location.
But that's but the same thing happened with the Vader. And then it's
followed up with the Vader helmet. Right.
But the way I guess the way I saw it was that her, like with the Vader helmet, like she did it and she's like focused in on it, so like that her force, like that whole thing is like projection to Kylo that she's seeing it. Yeah. Not that it's actually appearing next to him.
Well, I don't think it is appearing next to him, but I think that anything within her reality, when they're having this connection, can be physically interacted with by him, and vice versa. Like, he can grab her shirt because her shirt's on her body. He can swing a sword. Like, I mean, if you think about it, just even the fighting of the lightsaber,
but that's what I'm saying. It felt like objects. A force, but if you think of it like as like a force, like you're swinging, there's a force.
Like a vision or something.
Yes, and it's just there. That's how I felt. But
I guess like by adding the other elements, like I think the environmental elements into it, though, I think that their idea behind that might have been to establish that they're part of the rules are that the physical aspects can actually be interacted with in each other's presence. But like you said, these weren't rules that were entirely set up to this point. And with the way this movie felt, honestly, they wrote this thing without having any idea, what they were doing in the first and second movie. They probably didn't think they were bringing in Palpatine, with Rian Johnson kind of like maybe derailing what J.J. Abrams was maybe going down the path of. I don't know what his original path was, but like even in this situation, they added the rule that you can pull physical objects through this vision when that wasn't in the second movie. Probably for the lightsaber trade way later down the line. Yeah. And that was the only reason they even added it. Was for that cool scene at the end.
Probably. So, all right, I guess we'll go back into going through it.
And the festival met Lando Calrissian, which is cool.
So Kylo found out where they were. He went there. So they were trying to find them, and then then Lando like saved them for a bit.
Right, and then there was like a huge chase scene, and they go into this quicksand, which I personally found a little funny. You liked it though.
I thought it was okay.
It just felt like friggin'
I thought it
Indiana
was
Jones
funny
at that point.
Okay, I thought it was funny with Finn. He's like, Ray, I never got to tell you where, and then
like it
you
almost
laughed
felt
out
meta.
loud at that. Yeah,
It was like meta. It's like the movie knows what it's doing at this point, and they know that they can't like pretend.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something I meant to tell you. Like when like the trope when somebody's dying, they're like,
and they
oh
never.
no.
I mean, they addressed it, but they never said what it was that he said. That he wanted to say.
Did they not actually say what he wanted to say?
No.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Maybe we're just missing that. I don't know.
I think and like that, like you said, like the whole cliche, like quicksand. It was just a literal portal to the next part where they have to find the dagger and the bones of the dude they were looking for, and
another scene shift, another area. So they go under into the tunnels. Oh wow, the luckiest spot to have landed in the entire world, that you went through the quicksand and it's actually just tunnels beneath it, and the tunnels lead directly to the guy you guys were looking for. Oh, look at that, the dagger's right there in his hand, or I think it was like in the room or something.
It was in the sand or something like that. Can't forget the snake thing.
Yeah, that she heals.
She healed that, which was the first time we've seen that in the movies, which comes back later, but I had no problems with that.
Yeah, that's been in the video games for pretty much ever.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It's like your force, your life force, and you're transferring it, and you have to like recharge. And I'm sure that like with how Leia died, there is some limit to your force, to your life force that you can use.
Right.
But yeah, so they transition into that, and then it turns out that C-3PO can't read it.
Well, he can read it, he can't translate it.
And then, so that is like, oh, we need a reason for them to have to go somewhere else and do another quest.
Yeah, but before that,
find another object or person.
Hold on. Before we move on, because what happens is Chewie gets arrested.
Yeah.
Right, and they think that he's on whatever transport to go up, and that's when Kylo Ren and Rey have their force tug of war on this thing, and she blasts it with lightning, which...
That was like the hint to the audience, like, hey, she's Palpatine's granddaughter.
And it felt weird, like, it felt really, really weird when she did that. It didn't feel right, and I was like,
they didn't even cry over Chewie either.
They just did that to Chewie, and then like this, like right after they're just like, oh, I killed Chewie, we can't leave this for nothing, and then they just go to the next scene, and there was no no weeping or actual sorrow or feeling anything. Like that was something. First of all, the first time you freaking lightning some shit. Okay. Second off, you just killed one of your freaking best buddies that's been like there saving each other's asses, so you gotta feel something. I don't care if it turns out he's not actually dead. Give the audience this to make it feel real, and that's how I kind of knew there's a hint that he wasn't actually there.
It didn't feel right, and I mean, they just can't kill off a character as big as Chewbacca without having any sort of moment. Like, we didn't even get to see him. We didn't get to see him die. We didn't. Nothing for the emotional reaction side.
Also, how come every time someone dies, I guess it's only because Force people die, they feel it? Or is it when normal people die, they can feel too? Because I feel like Rey can tell person's there, but I guess it's usually
I think it's the heavy Force users.
Okay.
Because you couldn't tell when Chewie died.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
And then what happened after that?
So they go into the ship to go get him back, and she's with the guys, but then they go to get Chewie, and then she's like, no, let me go get this dagger, and that's when the scene happens with Kylo Ren and her, with the Force scene.
They pull it, and then, then they had to go to that other planet where, apparently, there's like this droid...
master technician or something, yeah.
And he's gonna like pull this data out of C-3PO because he knows what it says, but it's
forbidden.
Says
it's forbidden from him to translate it, and for them to do that, he loses his memory. And this is all at a planet where it's like Poe's previous, like, not gang. What was it?
Yeah, he's a spice runner.
Oh yeah,
and this was his like. His gang, I think, is probably the best way of putting it. And that was like the next scene, and you just kind of like jump to it. And they're using this ship that is what was his name? Ochi, I think.
Yeah. Ochi.
They're using like Ochi's ship, and The whole girlfriend thing was set up, it felt like, just for the medallion so that they could then fly onto the ship and not get detected. It gave Poe a bit of backstory and I think established his character a little bit more too, which was nice, and I did like that.
Yeah.
But that was definitely her purpose in the story.
Yeah.
Was to get them onto that ship without us going, wait, didn't they just fly up to that Star Destroyer and there's like no other ships around and no one noticed or questioned?
Yeah, I said that when like because they knew that they were there, and Kylo Ren went down to the planet, and when they went up, I'm like, Kylo, aren't you guys connected? Can't you just tell like that her beeper's going off in the sky, not on the planet? Like, she's going to your ship, she's not here. So yeah, but it's whatever.
Yeah, how did they realize that Chewie was alive? Did she just like suddenly feel like he was alive? Isn't that what happened?
Wait, yeah, he's in the ship, right? Didn't she do that?
No, it was when she was on the ground, and that's why they decided.
They were on the planet with the Babu Freak was the so
she had like a moment, like a
yeah, he's in there. Like, how did she know that? But she didn't know he was not another one.
I don't even know.
You can so it's like a false negative instead of a false. Like, you can tell if somebody's there, but not if they're not there. Like.
Well, maybe...
Right?
Well, didn't, like, somebody else die, and then she was like, wait a minute, I didn't feel this when he died. It was weird. They just basically wanted us or wanted that group of characters to realize that Chewie wasn't dead, so that then they had a motivation to go onto the ship.
Yeah.
And then once they got into the ship, they split up, and... It was... I mean, the ship part was interesting to me, but it definitely... There was more killing and fighting back of the stormtroopers than there was in previous movies, which was nice.
Yeah, we saw a lot of killing in the stormtroopers.
Yeah. They slaughtered like probably 30, 40 of them, maybe more.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rey was OP throughout that whole situation.
Yeah.
And then we already talked basically about the whole connection that they had and how he discovered he's on the ship. And,
yeah.
And then they get off of the ship by having her get saved on the Millennium Falcon. How did they get the Millennium Falcon back again?
Who is okay?
It was on the ship already, right? And then the spy.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because it got destroyed on or it got really badly damaged. Wasn't it like pretty badly damaged at one point?
Yeah, but that was in the beginning,
was
after the very first mission.
Oh yeah.
No, who got captured? They didn't take the ship?
No, they took the ship and they had it on the Star Destroyer. That's why.
They took the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, from the desert planet.
Yeah,
they were on
so that's why he was there. So then the spy, like, let them go there while...
Which I liked the spy thing.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it was fun how, it was a character that you most likely expected to be the spy. They brought in this other new general to kind of be the new fear-monger guy. He ends up working with Palpatine over Kylo Ren. He's like part of the old guard kind of thing.
Yeah, like, Hux had a very good motivation to be the spy, like the detractor, basically. Where you can tell, like, Kylo Ren's just shitting on him. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, I'll be fed up with it too. And it was more about him getting power. Meanwhile, the power went to Kylo Ren after Snoke died. It's like, oh, who's the leader now? It's like, no, he just wants power.
He was just salty as
fuck. And then he got killed, and it was perfect. And that's exactly what would have happened and should have happened. So,
yeah. So they tied up
this
that.
This is where I think, kind of, some things where you start going, okay, yes, good, like, that worked. Let's keep going, with that type of stuff.
They started to bring everything full circle that they had set up. And then she says yes. She agrees that she'll be on his team, which I thought was kind of interesting. And it was a bit of a foreshadowing.
I don't think she said yes to joining him. Like, it was more of an open-ended question of, like, will you do what you need to or some shit like that. I don't think it was like explicit.
Didn't he ask to like actually like have her join him? And she like was about to agree, and then the ship appears behind her. Because she realized her back was to, like, the wall. She couldn't escape. She was like, okay, I'll consider it. And then the ship appears. And then she's like, okay, wait, no, never mind. I'm going to go with my friends.
Yeah, I don't know the exact wording, but I'm pretty sure it's, like, more open-ended on, like, doing what, like, has to get done. Something like that. And then she was like, yes. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't know that she's saying yes to joining him and she's leaving or not.
But in the end, even if she did say yes to joining him, she did join him.
I know. I'm just saying that.
And she also... He said he wouldn't accept her turning it down twice. And she technically didn't. she said yes, but then she left, it didn't mean that she wasn't going to come back at some point, which is kind of like how they came together at the end and they were on the same team. And I kind of saw that as a moment that was foreshadowing the fact that he was going to turn back to the good side. And it was actually the opposite of what we expected, where he was the bad guy and he was bringing her to the dark side. It ended up being that she brought him to the light side.
Mm-hmm.
So they teamed up, but in reality, it was him joining her, not her joining him.
Right.
But yeah, so then they move on from that scene, and then it goes straight to that location where the Death Star had crashed.
Well,
I forget how they knew to go there as well. It was
okay. The dagger.
The
dagger. They translated C-3PO. Didn't they?
Oh yeah, you're right. They translated C-3PO,
and
it was like exact directions, location, everything you had to do. Like there was no prophecy or anything. I thought that was kind of funny in my head when I was thinking about it. I was like, oh hey, wow, this is like the first movie that instead of some old person from like 500 years ago giving some really vague riddle on where something is, it was just like, okay, so you're gonna go here. These are the exact coordinates, and this is the exact things you have to do, and then it'll open up and you can get it.
Yeah. Well, we also needed the dagger, which I just realized. I don't know why I didn't realize that. I'm like, oh shit, let's go get the dagger, whatever. You don't really need it. We got the thing. But then really we did need it to know the exact point where to go into the...
Well, we had found out the information on the dagger from
because C-3PO had it like stored. But when she was on that planet, she had opened it up, right? And it had...
Oh, yeah, and it gave the exact location.
And, yeah, so like... You actually did really need that, and we don't know why she knew that.
Oh, right. The instructions were not like the location on the planet, but like the exact planet, and then that it's in that Death Star, and that it's But yeah, so she used that. I thought that was pretty funny too, because they're just like, okay, we're not going to do this. It's too dangerous. Next scene. Oh my God, Rey, she's going alone, and also like we just met a whole bunch of these other stormtroopers that defected. Also, I thought that was so funny because it's like everyone hated Rose, so let's get rid of Rose, give Finn a new love, give Finn a totally new love interest.
Yeah,
Rose totally pushed to the side in this movie, friend zoned hard.
Yeah, and then when she was at the Death Star, like she went and took whatever to go there on the water. But then she gets in there, and then Finn's like, "Oh, we gotta go after her." And I'm like, "Isn't she already inside the thing by the time they're going to get?" It's like it's too late now. She's fine. Whatever.
And then like they don't even show how Finn gets there.
Yeah.
They don't show how like anyone gets there.
Or
it just
Kylo,
cuts to the next scene
because he already landed his ship somewhere on the thing.
I guess that was like right, because we watched her then take the ship to go to where Luke is.
I will say though, okay, so I guess there's the scene when she goes in, and I'd like that scene, that whole scene, to go get the Wayfinder.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and just like the whole vision that we actually got in this movie that we didn't get in freaking Last Jedi, when she goes down to the freaking pit, remember? And she's in the mirrors, and she's touching it, it's just all herself, and it shatters, and it tells us nothing, when actually now we get that scene that we needed. That
yeah, we get to see her like evil side and like what she could become potentially. And that's like, it was a cool struggle because it really was like it's her good side and her evil side are battling throughout this movie.
Yeah, and so then Kylo gets there and he destroys the Wayfinder because he's now
just wants to force her to join him.
Yeah, exactly. So then they start fighting, and I guess she wasn't really gonna kill him, but it's like at that point he's the only one that can get her there. She's like going and fucking destroying him like crazy. Trying to, like, it felt like she was trying to kill him. I just never get in movies when somebody has like the only way for you to like get a thing, it looks like that person's trying to kill the other person, the other person that has the key to whatever. It's like, isn't that person the one that's gonna help you? That's the whole point of leverage, that you can't kill them, but you're still fucking look like you're trying to kill them. I never understood.
I mean, they just want the drama, the battle, the cool moment of fighting on top of the remnants of the Death Star.
I mean, that whole thing was cool. And then when Leia dies, she drops the lightsaber and she stabs him.
And then she immediately regrets it.
Hold on. So that's like, and then even there when she does it, it's like he knows where to go and you need him. Like, this is me forgetting that his ship had the other one in there, but that's a separate thing.
Well, she didn't know that either. That's
exactly
the thing.
That too. So like, that doesn't even matter. So like she does this, and does she not actually care at that point? Like, I'd rather not find the Emperor if I have to, like, join you.
I don't know. I think it was just her rage.
Yeah.
I think that it was just another moment of weakness for her where we saw her dark side come out. And then it was in the moment. So Leia, I feel like she knew beyond. It wasn't just, oh, let me try to make Rey win a fight with my son. It was, not only I'm going to distract Kylo, and then Rey's going to kill him. And then she's going to realize that she doesn't like the fact that she just did that and that she lost her temper. And she's going to fix it and save his life. And by saving his life, he then has like a moment of like repentance and realizes like he doesn't really want to be evil. He's just gone down the path. And he feels like he can't go back. And he's having these like visions of his father over and over again, killing him over and over again. And that was the moment for Kylo where he felt like he could never return from the dark side. And then he has this like inside his own head conversation with his dad. And he's able to kind of let go of that. So it was Rey's compassion and in saving him that gave him the like mental fortitude to reconsider his decisions up to that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then that's also why they did the whole force heal on a worm earlier, is so that when she did it on him suddenly, almost at the end of the movie, at least we wouldn't be annoyed by it.
I don't know who would be annoyed by it. Like,
well, I mean, if it just happened out of the blue and we've never seen anyone do before, then it might feel that way. But
it's when it happens out of the blue at such a high power level that we don't like it.
Well, both times was pretty high power level.
No.
When she healed the worm, like she healed like a giant gash on it.
No. It was just slices that it was kind of healing from. That dude's been dead for how fucking long, dude? It's not like it was like straight up been like mortal wounded. It like that was a light wound for that animal.
I guess for that animal it wasn't that bad. But I'm just thinking like, I guess if you just think of it like life force, like, you know, there's a conversion between humans and animals, and maybe animals don't have as much force, like life force, like size doesn't matter. Like you can have something that's the size of a skyscraper and the size of an ant, but both have equal life force. So like if you can heal a giant, hole in the building, but you know what I'm saying?
Can't bring it like an ant back to life. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think it just has to do with
we don't know what any of the rules are. That's the thing with these movies, is that they don't want to really like. I mean, they may have had more time. They might have been able to establish.
My main point was gonna bring up when Leia floats herself in space. That was the first time we see like such a high power level from her in a way like that. So it's like, what the hell? Versus like the little bit of like pull the beads. The shit's flying around when Kylo and Rey are fighting, and then at the end when they have the lightsaber, it's like, okay, we get it. Yeah, that's like a higher power level. That's all I was saying. There's really...
Yeah, and also with Leia, they established that she trained pretty heavily and was like a true Jedi as well. In the third one, though.
I know. Well, so they had it, kind of stated it, sort of, in a sense, in the second one, especially between Luke and her talking, that whole thing. And then...
Show, don't tell. That's the answer. In movies and stories, like show people doing stuff.
Yeah, they had back in the day when Luke and her were, training, and then this is her lightsaber when he passes on.
Yeah, and they showed us like a little clip of them fighting and her training, and then once you see that, you're like, okay, she's a Jedi. Like now I feel it. I'm putting her up there with Luke in my mind. So when she does something crazy and super force power, super strong in terms of her force power, I now can better consume that.
Yeah, because we had a disconnect between the original where we just see her fighting, like she can fight, whatever, that's fine, but we never see her force wise use any of that. And then we have her as an older lady. You're like, okay, she's just like you can't imagine her being super Jedi badass.
And she didn't use force powers in the whole first movie of this trilogy at all. Like not once.
Yeah.
The first time she used force powers was like basically when she pulled herself back into the ship.
Yeah. So, okay. So the next part is after
Well,
She leaves.
She takes his ship to
Yeah.
where Luke is, and she decides, oh well, the Wayfinder's it's dead, it's gone. I can't go to the Sith place. I'm just gonna stay here and not become the emperor or
Yeah.
empress of the Sith. And she thinks that she's better off just being there.
Just like Luke.
Yep. And then Luke, who is now completely gone from believing one thing and then 360ing it all the way to the complete opposite, basically
180?
tells her that she's an idiot because she's doing what he did.
Yeah.
And then like reveals that he still has this X-Wing from like 20 years ago. It's been underwater or
20?
something.
Yeah, probably more than that. But yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then also, right, she didn't know that there was an extra Wayfinder. She blew up Kylo Ren's ship. Oh, look, I just decided to check it again.
Wait,
make sure I didn't forget anything.
Hold on, how did she fly it and not see it like on the dashboard?
It wasn't in the dashboard.
Well,
it was in like a
it's
block box.
I know. I'm just.
Oh.
But like it's in the fucking thing. It's like in the cockpit. Like you know what's going on.
And yeah, it's also like, well, how did he get there? There's got to be two. Like, why you should almost assume that there's two, and look for it in his ship.
Not really.
Well, because we know that, or at least she knew that he had gone. Well, I guess maybe did she know?
I don't think she knew, and even if she did know, I think like the Emperor can find him.
Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was funny that she went back to her ship, like to the destroyed ship, and then was like, "Oh, let me just give it a double check." It has exploded.
Yeah.
There's fire everywhere. And any metal I touch is likely to singe my hand horribly and give me third-degree burns. But now is a good time to check the inside and see if there was anything important in there.
Yeah. I kind of glossed over that. I was like, okay, now she's gonna go fly.
I mean, this movie was filled with those moments where there wasn't. It was just get us to the next step, get us to the next step, and that was like we want her to go now to the Sith planet.
Yeah.
So let's just give it to her.
All right. So then she goes to fly to the Emperor. I forgot the place was called. No.
That's like Essex or something.
Essex, I think something like that. Okay. And well, right when after she leaves, Kylo has his scene with his dad, and then throws his lightsaber away, and that's when you turn to me like, oh, he's gonna use Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Lightsaber.
And you could tell because since they revealed Leia's lightsaber, you knew that Rey was gonna follow Leia.
Well, it was before that.
And that no, Luke gave. Oh wait, was that?
Yes, because she didn't get to the.
Right, you're right.
She left to go to the island.
I don't think I thought of the lightsaber thing until.
No, you turned to me.
Oh, I did when he threw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that was good
Okay.
Foresight. So then Luke gives her the other lightsaber. She goes to meet the Emperor, and sends a signal out to the Resistance, and they all go.
And they have this like crazy plan to try to take out these sensor things. I actually like this part. This is right here is when the movie actually got really good.
I mean, yes. I mean, I thought it was good on that when they went to the planet, like when she went in to have her scene. I think
the Death Star.
Yeah, the Death Star. I think from that point forward, I liked everything. That whole.
I like everything from that point forward, but this is that last scene or the last set on the planet,
that whole fighting,
that whole part, that was really the icing on the top. It was the piece that put everything together into a cohesive movie.
True.
Despite it being so kind of jumpy,
yeah.
But yeah, so she goes to this planet. She decides she's going to face off against the Emperor himself and not bring anybody with her.
Well, she
other than obviously letting the Resistance know.
She let them know. Yeah, it's not like she brought anybody. But yeah.
And they're going after these towers, and then it's like, oh well, the tower. This is where I liked it because you have all these previous movies where there's this one weak spot. Like, let's go for the weak spot, and then they were like, oh, there's these sensor towers. If we just destroy the sensor towers, and they can't do anything. Immediately it was like, oh my god, it's just another hole in a fucking Death Star.
Yeah.
But then when they go and they start to destroy it and then it turns off, I'm like, oh, it switched to the ship. Oh, now they have to go try to go on the ship, and then they take down the sensor thing, but they're like, oh no, it can get repaired. That was really cool.
Also, they could have just turned the other one back on.
That's true.
At the same
because
time.
they didn't destroy it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, forget that one. Let's go back to this other one.
That's a bit of a loop. Or
Pretty big plot hole.
Plot hole.
That I was thinking when like they went to the other one. I'm like, oh, if they're just gonna destroy this one, turn the other one on. It's just gonna whether or not it like fully saves it and they don't go, maybe they go back and destroy the one on the ground, whatever. But it still gets you more time. They would have done that.
Yeah, and then even when they destroyed it, they were like, oh, they're gonna get this thing back up and running. We have to destroy the whole ship.
Yeah.
And that was fine with me too.
I think destroying that ship would have also not been able to let them turn the ground one on anyway.
True.
I guess.
But
yeah, that whole switch,
and also like just the ground fight there was cool. Like they actually had the army of the rebels running and shooting guns, and then there was the army of the First Order.
Final Order. They're trying to put the Final Order, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're called the First Order, and then this plan is the Final Order.
Yeah, like Order 66. This is Order 67. Order 69.
Honestly, I did not like the fact that they called it the Final Order because it started to confuse me.
Bro. It's like the final solution, Nazis and shit.
Right, but to me in my head I was like the Final Order, but then there's also the First Order.
Yeah.
So now, like in my head, even just recalling it, I'm like, no, Final Order, First Order, they're not the same thing. Like,
yeah, it did feel more like Final Order was more like the next generation of the First Order.
Yeah.
They skipped one. They went First Order. They skipped 2 through Infinity, and then went to the final one. It was the Final Order, I guess.
Yeah.
Didn't last very long.
No. But there was, the struggle. The rebels almost lost, and then there was like that
resistance.
Resistance comes in and saves the day.
Oh yeah, all of them. That I don't know if it was cold in the theater, but I got tingles because it was like that old Star Wars like group, like let's do this. Now we're gonna save. And
it kind of had like the Gandalf feel where they're like coming over the
ridge or whatever.
And it was like the ridge. The whole army comes in and saves the day.
Yeah. Yes.
Honestly, I think this whole movie actually took quite a bit of inspiration from Lord of the Rings, more so than like other movies. It even had like the Sixth Wraith, ring bearers.
Oh yeah, we didn't even think about that. Yeah, the Wraiths.
Palpatine is Sauron. He's dead. He's coming back to life. You can see everything. He's manipulating the world around him. He's bringing an army that he's grown from this land that he controls and that no one can get into. And then they're going around. They're jumping. You could even say like the Fellowship of the Rings is like the resistance in that group that they have together that they're trying to get this Wayfinder or whatever.
All right.
It's not exactly the same in any way, and I'm not saying it is, but
okay.
But it has like a vibe to it. It had like a feel of like that same sort of approach to the storytelling and the writing.
Yeah, well, so they had them all show up, and then they had the Emperor freaking blasting them out of the sky with lightning, which was sick.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
After he like sucked the power from both Kylo and Rey.
Oh yeah, because like in like the previous movies when like everybody comes and the backup comes, they just win after that. Who cares? So you think that's happening, and then they're like, no, we're just gonna blast these out of the sky. Everybody's falling, and it's just like, oh no, what the hell is happening? Like
I was on the edge of my seat that whole part with Kylo, Rey, and Palpatine. Like they did that fantastically. That was the highlight of the whole movie. Was the scene in that like Sith Lord chamber room. Between the three of them, because then it's like you don't know who's gonna die, who's not gonna die, like when they're gonna die, who's gonna be revived, who's not gonna be revived. Like now Palpatine, it looks like he's gonna lose, and he's just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna suck the soul from these two, and then they're like both on the ground. It's like, oh my god, he's destroying everything. What are we gonna do? And it had like a pull and a push, and you're on the edge of your seat, and you're like, what's next? Like I want to see how they're gonna defeat the Emperor, because even I'm not able to fully anticipate how they're gonna pull this off.
Yeah, like you can't really comprehend if you're like, this is the Emperor, and like they're gonna come together, okay, with lightsabers, then like he's gonna get what he wants by her killing him or whatever. You're like, oh, the loophole is like Kylo kills him, but then the Emperor just sucks their souls, and then he's super strong. You're like, okay, now how are they going to actually kill him instead of just stupid like a lightsaber on his ass? And then
Kylo gets pushed into the hole too, and you're just like, fuck, you know.
Yeah.
Now Rey's got to do this all by herself. She gets up. And, you know, when the second lightsaber comes in, too, I was like, Kylo, you're still alive. You're going to be here. I know you're going to come back. Like, obviously, they're not going to just kill him off that easily. And But, you know, when she gets his lightsaber again, like, you know he's coming. He's going to be here soon. And, you know, she basically kills him.
Well, he kills himself, I guess. Loophole. Type of situation.
It took her energy though. Like she was putting all of her force power into the lightsabers to like deflect and control that lightning power that was coursing into her. Because you have to imagine what he's putting into the sky, killing all these ships, is what he's putting into Rey.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that she's not doing anything. I'm just saying that she's doing it defensively versus offensively going after him to kill him like he wanted. Yeah. It was the rejection of the dark side. And
that's a good way of putting it. You actually gave me chills by saying that was weird. It's like it's a rejection of the dark. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Because she's got both. It's like it's literally Luke and Leia in her hands. Yeah. Pushing the darkness back onto the Emperor.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it gave me chills now.
Because it's even cooler when you think about the fact that both of their lightsabers in that final duel were Luke and Leia's, and they had their own connection, Palpatine and Skywalker. So I thought that bringing her lineage in and having it wrap up like that was so well done, and then Kylo and her have the moment after she's like dead, and you're like, fuck, she's like collapsed. Dude. And she's dead.
Oh, hold on, quick. When I saw that, after like it kind of stretched on a little bit, she was dead, and they did such a good job of making her look dead. It was eerie. She was just like there limping. You're like, yo, this is like, did they get like a corpse? This is weird. It felt weird for like for a few seconds. I was like,
I definitely see that. And then when Kylo like picks her up, and she's like completely dead fish. Yeah. For a second, I was like, "Is he gonna like kiss her to like put her force, her force, life force into her?" But then it was like, "Okay, no, he's just gonna put his hand on her. Thank God." But then they gave the fandom the fan service of the
kiss,
Reylo kiss.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I thought their connection was like all force and not physical. I don't know if that really makes sense. Where like it didn't feel like that. It's like they've been through shit, but like. Is this more like a thank you for saving me, for saving you? Like, is that like what the whole thing is? It's not like
it didn't feel that passionate.
No, but then he had that weird smile, yo. He like smiled like a kid and fucking like a 14-year-old that just got his first kiss. Like, yeah, I got it. Like she's on my side now. But
that was a good wrap up to his arc too.
Oh yeah. I'm so happy that he died. Like, not happy that he died, but happy that they closed it out in a way that finished his arc, coming to the light side and dealing with that, and just realizing what he did wrong and how to basically fix it.
And then even after that, they bring everything together in this idea of like Rey is the balancing of the light and the dark. She's good and evil, and she's almost like she's a child of Palpatine, or a grandchild of Palpatine, raised by two Skywalkers. Right. So I think when she had like you found it very corny, but at the very end she's like, I'm Rey Skywalker. I'm adopted personally, so I can kind of understand that. I didn't find it as weird as you did, just because in her mind her parents were Luke and Leia.
Yeah, no, okay, like, thinking back on it, like, I'm more okay with it. It's just, like, giving yourself the name is different than being, like, you're part of the family, you're a Skywalker, and then they adopting that. Like, that's what she is. It's just saying it out loud, to me, felt weird when somebody asked her last name. That's all. Like, she's like, I'm a Skywalker, like, I'm part of,
Don't they, like, appear in that, like, scene,
yes,
though?
when she's looking to the side, she looks to the side, and she sees the ghost of them two together.
Yeah, I think that was like, in a way, them being like, "Yes, we are your parents."
That's fine. No, like, look, I didn't like it, and thinking back on it, it's like, that's all Star Wars. Like, that's like a feeling of Star Wars with that, and it was like, okay, that works. And then to point out her lightsaber, because she buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers, and she has her own lightsaber, which is the orange lightsaber, which is the Grey Knight lightsaber.
Yeah, it's it's created using both like a.
It was the Sith. It was like the Sith crystal that
Right.
You extract the Sith out of it, the darkness out of it, and it creates that. And that is like a representation of her.
Like her and Kylo, I feel because she like sucked the evil out of Kylo, and it became part of the goodness in her and her legacy.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it when it wrapped up everything so well, all the loopholes or plot holes were pretty much mostly patched up. She was no longer a Mary Sue. Kylo had a good arc. She had a struggle. Everybody had like little mini arcs other than like Finn.
Like Poe was really good. Finn, they kind of brought it back with the stormtrooper that he kind of talked with, but it didn't really do much else. Like he didn't utilize the fact that he was a stormtrooper previously in any way to promote more people to doing that. He just found more people that did it. If he was able to get more defectors, then more power, But this was just like and it like he just found more people like him.
He was kind of like the sidekick of the three movies.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate because he did such a good job. Like the actor, what's his name again? Boyega. What's his first name?
John Boyega.
John Boyega. There we go. Yeah, I think he did. Honestly, all of them did a great job acting in all of the movies, which helped like substantially when the movies were as left, right. They really, I almost don't even want to think that there's other two movies and just go, hey, this was all three movies. It was just packed into one movie. And that's the way I'm interpreting this whole third movie.
Yeah, I'll take some of the good stuff with Kylo Ren and Rey. I'll take that stuff with their interactions and like remember that stuff, and then this movie. Yeah, basically.
But that's pretty much the whole movie.
Yeah, that's how it ended.
And it.
Oh, okay. I want to just point out, Chewie got his medal.
Oh yeah, Chewie got his medal.
It's like those are the little fan service things that we get.
That's great.
It was like, okay, I got this for you. It was Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, I'm fine with fan service as long as it's not like. Sometimes a writer will put fan service in front of plot, meaning that they'll write the plot around the fan service, not the other way around.
Right.
And with those little, like this movie had fan service, but it always felt like it was happening alongside the plot, rather than derailing the plot or like pulling away from it.
Definitely.
So that made this significantly more enjoyable from like a nostalgia point of view.
Yeah. So I think that's really it for this movie.
Yeah, overall, I liked it a lot.
Throughout the movie, I liked it more and more.
I almost like forgot about the things I didn't like.
Yeah, and I definitely forgot about like those plot holes that just was like a little bit here, a little bit there. It wasn't really big like we saw in the previous one, so definitely enjoyed it.
And you could tell like the purpose of it was to move things along. So like when you see something that's maybe not entirely logical, but you understand why the writer did it and its purpose in making the overall movie better, it becomes a lot more like
understandable.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let us know what you guys thought of the movie. It's been very mixed.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of people have hated it, but I definitely put it above the last two. I may even put it above like some of the prequels.
Maybe
that's a little more controversial. I don't know.
I'll mix it in there, I think, within the prequels.
Because the prequels were a little boring. They were just kind of slow. At least this wasn't a boring movie. Even if it was kind of fast, rushed, things were a little crazy. Some of the characters were, a little weird. And, you bringing in so much nostalgia to make up for the fact that you didn't actually have a first two movies with any sort of plot that was helpful in the third movie. It's was a lot faster paced, and there was a lot more action. There was a lot more tense moments than in the prequels, in my opinion. Yeah. I did like the third. I like Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, so did I.
But I'm not a fan as much of the first two for the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, the Attack of the Clones had good...
it had cool fighting.
Fighting, yeah. All
But
right.
there was like a lot of political stuff in there. Not that there's anything bad about that, but it
It was much more.
was so slow.
Yeah. Well. So I think that's about it.
Yep.
Before we keep ranting on the old ones.
Okay, guys. See ya.
Next
Well, not next
episode.
week. We'll probably our next episode will be most likely
After New Year's.
yeah, after New Year's, or well, we'll see. I think there's one. We could probably do one the week after Christmas.
You'll see.
Okay. See you guys.
As always, thank you for listening and following.
Check us out every Thursday on YouTube, Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are available.
You can find us on Instagram at Unstoppable Force Podcast and Twitter at UForcePod for news and updates.
We'll see you guys next week. And
until
until then, stay unstoppable.